Hi, friends. I am here with a story for you. This story will hopefully remind you of the writing that we've been doing in Writer's Workshop and maybe make you think about that big author share we have coming up. We're going to be sharing those stories that you've been working hard on and that you just learned, just talked about dressing up. So you're going to want to think about which one and how to fancy it up, right? This one is called Ralph Tells a Story, and it's written by Abby Hanlon. My teacher always said, stories are everywhere. Does that sound like something Mrs. Bjorkman or I would say? And the kids in my class were always finding them. Then my mom ran so fast she caught up with the ice cream truck. Yeah, stories. After that, I decided to hide my Halloween candy in my bed. I ran down the hallway with underwear on my head. The dentist forgot to give me a toothbrush. But every day at writing time, I thought really hard. I stared at my paper. I stared at the ceiling. I could not write a story. Oh man, happens sometimes, right? Look at these great writers. Then Grandma gave me a cup of coffee and said, "Don't tell your mother." Grandma. Ah! I have no story. Oh dear. So I looked for other things to do. I went to the water fountain. Can I go to the bathroom? Again, says his teacher. I roamed the hallways. I tried everything. Can I go help the lunch ladies? What? Then, one day, after getting sent back to my desk, I begged Daisy for help. I can't write a story because nothing happens to me. Are you kidding? She said, I've written a ton of stories about you. Oh dear. And up here it says, stories happen to those who tell them. She began pulling her stories out of her desk. Look at this one, she said. Remember the time you let me brush your hair? And this one, remember the time you knocked down all the crayons? Oh, and remember the time you painted your nails with black marker? I thought, I'll never be a great writer like Daisy. And here's one of her stories. It says, Daisy, it was so quiet during writing time, then crash. Then the teacher said, no, it's permanent marker. And that's the one about his nails, right? And this one says, Ralph has messy hair. Then Daisy stapled all her stories together. Click, click. Wow, she said, this book is already 13 pages. Click, click. Can I use a stapler? I asked. I was really good at stapling. But you have nothing to staple, said Daisy. You have to find a story first. Just look around. Well, it's awesome that Daisy's having an easy time finding a story, but not everybody finds a story so fast, right? So I looked for stories out the window. In the aquarium. In my desk. And here's Daisy. Why do you have socks in your desk? And when my teacher wasn't looking, I looked for stories on the floor. It's having a hard time. That's my favorite part. Look, my next book, The Sock Mystery by Daisy. But still, no stories. Lying under my desk reminded me of lying in the grass at the park. I closed my eyes and imagined I was at the park. Just like that time, a little inchworm crawled on my knee. The sun was shining right into my eyes. Squinting, I picked up the wiggly inchworm and looked at it close up. And that's when my teacher found me. "What's your story about?" she asked. I opened my eyes. I saw an inchworm." "Wonderful," she said. "I can't wait to read what you wrote." But there was no inchworm story. I sat down and tried to write about the inchworm, but right away I got stuck. "Do you know any inchworm stories?" I asked Daisy. She just rolled her eyes and kept right on writing. And then my teacher said, "Writers, come to the rug." Oh, they have a rug. This is a pre-COVID book. "Time to share." This is what we're going to do on our author share. "Ralph, why don't you go first?" said the teacher. "Ralph, why don't you go first?" said the teacher. I pretended that I had lost my paper because all the friends were saying, "Ooh, me, 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 me. Pick me, oh, me." It didn't work. There's a friend next to him that says, "He's sitting on it." I walked to the front of the rug. It took a long time. I held my paper against my chest so no one could see it. "I was at the park," I said. "An inchworm crawled on my knee." Not a bad start. It was quiet. My heart went thump, 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 thump. I think he's feeling nervous. That's when I looked at Daisy. "Wow, really? Did it feel squishy, Ralphie? Did you take it home?" And then everybody started asking me questions. "Did your mom let you keep it? Did you touch it? Was it a baby? Was it a girl? Did it tickle? Did you name it? Ooh. Did he hook his readers, his listeners? They're excited about his story." Wait a minute, I thought. Something did happen with that inchworm. Well, I picked up the inchworm and decided to name him Nick. I built Nick a house, but he just inched away. So I followed him, which is why I didn't notice that someone was following me. And then all of a sudden, this wobbly, crazy baby grabbed Nick and put him in his dot, dot, dot diaper. I tried to be calm. "Come on, baby," I said really nicely. "Give Ralphie the inchworm." It didn't work. Was this the end of Nick? But then I noticed Nick was escaping. He crawled right up the baby's stomach. Quickly, I rescued Nick and ran. And we spent the rest of the afternoon doing nothing together. Looks like Ralphie's trying to be an inchworm like Nick. Everybody clapped and cheered. "Show the picture, Ralph," someone said. I wasn't embarrassed anymore, so I did. And his words on his paper say, I was at the park. Just like some of you. Do you remember when we were talking about how I went to the playground was not a story, but there might be a story inside of that? The same thing happened to Ralphie. All he had was I was at the park, but then inside his trip to the park was a story just waiting to be told. That was last year. This year, I write stories all the time. I keep finding stories everywhere. This book might be too thick to staple, and it says 100 Funny Stories by Ralph. And the very last page says writing tips from Ralph. Number 1, get comfortable. Number 2, it's okay to ask for help. What was that funny thing I did again? Come back soon. Number 3, you can always write about what you had for breakfast. Well, that's not that exciting, but his says pizza in the morning by Ralph. That might be a little more exciting.
Mommy.
And number 4 says eat lots of chocolate. I don't know if eating lots of chocolate helps me write stories, but it sounds tasty, right? And look at all the books Ralph has made now. Wow, what a writer he's becoming. It's a lot of books somebody made, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I hope you enjoyed. And I can't wait to hear all of your stories next Monday.